Welcome to episode 182 of Missing Pieces, my weekly audio journal podcast, where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And this is one of those weeks where I felt like nothing really happened, a rather unexciting week, if you will. But then once I started making some notes of things that happened this week, I was like, holy smokes, I've got all kinds of things to talk about and stuff that you would probably love to hear about. So never doubt yourself is the lesson that I learned this week. But nonetheless, if there isn't enough for me to talk about, last week I made a plea with you guys to give me some listener feedback. Let's make this a thing. And wouldn't you know it, you guys did. So I've got a lot of stuff to read here at the end. I'm getting ready for it. But until then, let me tell you about my week. And we're going to start with the best part, the fun of the week. And this is actually in relation to us going over to my mother and father-in-law's last week. Bud and Deb, you may know them from Yemi and Pap. You may know them from the yard sale videos. They invited us over last weekend for dinner, which I have to say, I might have a new favorite meal from Deb. She's probably listening to this. Usually my favorite meal of hers is her sloppy joes that are just absolutely incredible. Like my number one meal would be her sloppy joes, which if you don't know what sloppy joes are, I think some people call them hamburger. What do people call them? What's the other thing? I don't know. I don't know what the thing is. You're probably saying it right now. Don't leave that as your comment. Save it for something good. What are they, not hamburger, not sloppy joes. I'm looking this up. I'm not, dude. Anyways, she made these things called burger bundles, which she's made before, but for some reason, these were just absolutely amazing. I'm looking up sloppy joes alternatives, homemade sloppy joes. Why is everyone just calling it sloppy joes? What are alternative names for sloppy joes? A manwich, slush burger, yum yums, dynamite, spoon burgers, tavern sandwich. That none of those things is what I'm talking about. Hamburger barbecue. I think that might be it. Anyways, if you don't know what a sloppy joe is, just get out of here. Get out of my game. No, stay. I love her sloppy joes. If I had like the ultimate meal, it would be her sloppy joes along with her potato salad, or specifically Nan's recipe of potato salad. It's just the best. And that would be like my number one meal. And if it was like my birthday, that's what I would request. But she made these just banging burger bundles, which is sort of like if you take hamburger meat and stuffing and put it into a ball, and then there's like this gravy and or cream of mushroom soup that goes into it, and it's just so good. And then you take that and you have it with her mashed potatoes, which according to Clark are the best mashed potatoes ever. You got the ultimate combination of a meal. So like I almost had a bit of a crisis this weekend thinking about my favorite meal and how it may not be my favorite meal with her anymore. I think it might now be burger bundles and mashed potatoes. So that was awesome. We also had apple pie from Sam's Club, actually very good and also very affordable. Sam's Club coming through. What else did we have? I think that was it for that. But the most fun part of the day, that was the meal of the week. That was my like life-changing meal. The fun of the week was Pap took us out and he ended up getting himself a crossbow at the auction. So if you don't know what a crossbow, well, I'm not gonna. What's another name for a crossbow? I don't know. What is it? A bowcaster. That's what Chewbacca has in Star Wars. So he has a bowcaster, and this thing was really cool. He showed me how to like get it all loaded and set up, and then he even had like this big target thing, which was like this big, almost like a really hard pillow of sorts. I'm really failing here at describing things. You're in for a treat. So then we hung it up on this thing that's like a frame, and then he showed me how to get all set up, and we sat down at a picnic table and got all lined up, you know, like ready to shoot. He had a scope on top of it, so I'm looking down the scope, and I fire, and when you know it, I got a bullseye. And I was like, dude, that was cool. I have this all filmed, by the way. So if I'm doing a terrible job explaining it, at the very least you'll be able to see it. I think the visuals will help out a lot. But I shot that off a few times, and it was just so much fun doing that. He got it, I think, for $125, he said, but then he spent like $60. Wait, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this because Deb might be listening. I don't know if this is public information, but he got like these covers that are for the scope, which I don't think is overly necessary, but he wanted to keep it official and proper. And he got like the brand and everything that it was. But I had a lot of fun shooting that off. After that, we offered for Clarkman to try it, but I felt like it was, and he felt like it was a little bit too big for him to shoot off, which yeah, he's a little too young. So instead we gave him a BB gun. Pap has had this BB gun he's been sitting on forever that he's been wanting to give Clarkman. So it felt like the right time. So we went out with some like some water bottles that were filled with water and showed Clarkman how to shoot it, and he loved that. He loved like shooting the water bottle and then all the water's coming out, and then he tried plugging up the holes in the water bottle, and then we shot some Coke cans and a ginger ale can, and it was just so much fun. It honestly took me way back to my childhood because I had a BB gun as well, and I got into a little bit of a mischievous nature with that. I remember one thing that I did that I shouldn't have done, and kids, if you're listening to this, you don't do this. We had one of those globe things that's on like a pedestal that was in the middle of our yard. It's just like a reflective like green globe is what I remember it being. And one day after school, I came home. I was home before my parents. I was always like, I was home alone for a little bit. Luckily, Joe Pesci and David Stern didn't come and try to kidnap me or rob our house or anything like that. But we had one of these globes, and I guess one day when I got home from school, I decided I was going to go out and shoot the BB gun. And you probably know where this is going, but that looked like a really appealing target, and I shot it and cracked the whole thing right off. Like the whole side of it just got broken. I never fessed up to it, and from what I remember, I think my dad, who was upset about it, thought it was the neighbor kid that did it. So I let him take the fall, and like no consequences ever came of it. He never like said anything to the kid. Oh, that just brought me another memory though. That kid, he deserved it though. Like if he got in trouble for it, he would have deserved it, because my favorite cat of all time was named Milo. I got Milo in the community yard sales on May 13th, 1995. I remember this day very well. I had no idea we're going down this route, but this kind of brought this to my mind. And I got Milo as a kitten, last kitten left in a box at one of the last yard sales we were going that day, and I brought a kitten home. My dad was always very allowing of pets. We had all kinds of pets and animals, which we're going to be talking more about that a little bit later in listener feedback. But Milo was a wonderful cat. But I remember one time Milo got shot in the head by like a dart. Like it was like this, like maybe 10-inch long, just like metal dart type thing with an orange thing at the end, like an orange piece of plastic at the end. I don't know if like some type of gun shoots it or what. I'm assuming so, but it was the neighbor kid, the one that would have taken the fall for hitting the globe thing. He shot Milo in the head with that dart. My dad just pulled it out. Luckily it didn't hit him in the eye or like go through his skull or anything. It was just like in his skin. But it's like, dude, you don't shoot cats. You don't shoot cats or any domesticated animals like that. So we made a point of telling Clarkman that when he was shooting his BB gun, and he really had a lot of fun with that. The one thing though is he's not quite strong enough to like cock it. If you've never seen a BB gun, the way this one cocks in particular, and like the one that I had when I was a kid, is right down by like the butt of the rifle. You pull this thing out, and then as it comes up sort of towards the barrel, it cocks itself, and then you put that back. It's not like one where it's like a pump shotgun where you like pump the brown thing on the front of it. I'm doing terrible with words today. I know nothing. I would like. I've been tempted to start this over, but let's keep running. Let's keep going with it. We had fun doing that. That like really was like the highlight of my week, honestly. I thought, I knew we were going over there for dinner, but like this whole crossbow thing, Pat mentioned in the car when we were yard selling last Friday before I recorded this episode, he's like, oh, we're going to try out my new crossbow. But man, I was really into it. It is kind of like the only downside of it is it's a lot of work to shoot it off. Like you have to get this tool, and then you put the crossbow kind of like face down on the ground or on like a board is what we're using. And then you use this tool with these strings, and you pull the string on it back until it clicks in, and it kind of like holds it in place, and you have a safety on, and then you slide your dart in there, and then you shoot it. And it was really cool. It was a great experience. It felt like playing video games in real life. So what better thing than that? Which also takes me to my next segment, the game of the week. And coming off of last week when I bought Elden Ring, you would think Elden Ring would be my game of the week. Either me talking about how much I love it or how much I just absolutely despise it. But I didn't even play Elden Ring because this other game came into my life and basically became my obsession this week. And the game is called Merge and Blade. Merge and Blade, like blade of a knife. And I didn't even know this game existed, but I was listening to a podcast last weekend while I was cleaning up in the kitchen. And the guy mentioned about how he was just playing this game that's on Game Pass called Merge and Blade. And the way he described it sold it to me. Obviously, today I'm doing a terrible job of describing pretty much everything. So this probably isn't going to sell you, but just know that this game is a lot of fun. And if you have Game Pass, you should at least give it a run. Although be wary because it is very addicting. It's a game where you have this game board essentially that's very much like Tetris or Puyo Puyo if you've ever played it. We'll just stick with Tetris because I'm sure most of you played that. You know how you rotate your blocks around in that and try to hit these lineups that delete your rows? This game's like that, only instead of deleting your rows and instead of dropping blocks, you're dropping these various characters that take up like these little cells, like these little squares. So they are all different powers, including a farmer, a blacksmith, a knight, there's a rogue, there's wizard, there's an alchemist, there's a priest, there's all these different things, right? But the beauty of it is, as you're dropping these down in your board, in very much a Tetris style, when you combine 3 of them together, like you combine 3 farmers together, they become 1 blacksmith. You combine 3 knights together, they become a rogue. You get barbarians if you combine the priests together. There's archers. And it's the fun part of it is like doing that, obviously. If you combine more than 3, like you get 4 of them in a row, you get a bonus. And what happens after you go through a bunch of turns of doing this, like they drop down, like let's just say 5 of them. I've leveled up, so I don't know what it started with. But they drop down 5 of them. And after you have them all lined up however you want them, you go into an automated battle system where you battle these enemies with the lineup that you have. And sometimes your guys will get killed, sometimes they'll win, but then you go back to the board again and they drop more down. And you can do these swaps, you can see a preview of what's coming, and when you swap your characters around, you can get them lined up so maybe you have 3 in a row that like fell weird, and then you swap them so they're lined up. And then when you go back to the game board again to play, they'll combine into a better character. And I'm at the point now, like I'm like on the cusp of beating the game. There's 20 chapters of you going through these various challenges. And this last one that I'm on, and there's a couple of them along the way that are super easy, but then there's a couple that it just feels like they really want you to grind because you get gold as you're doing all this stuff. And the gold is used to level up your characters. So you can level up your blacksmith, for example, or you can level up your priest, and they have better abilities because of that. And I felt like there was a couple points in the game, and especially the one that I'm on right now where I'm on the very last chapter. It's so darn difficult that I think they just want you to keep playing and grinding to level up your people. So like you get more time out of the game because it's a very small and fast game. But I've played like this final thing where you have to go through 20 rounds of beating people and leveling up, and they're getting very, very hard. I've done it probably like 6 times, and every time you do it's like 20 minutes. So I'm like, dude, I'm dropping all this time in this game, and it's like I've had all this fun with it. And the only thing that I'm really playing for anymore is just to beat the game, just to say I beat it. I've made it to round 19 out of 20, but at that point, they're so overpowered that like one hit from any of the enemies pretty much eliminates like half your team if you don't have everybody just jacked on the stats. And I don't know, I'm just like, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, if you will. So the game is ridiculously fun and addicting, but I watched someone beat it. Like there's not a bunch of information on this, but I watched a person beat it, and they're just doing like crazy like maneuvers and combinations that when they went into the last round, their team was absolutely stacked. And I don't know if I lack the ability to do that, or maybe that person's way further into the game than like what I was in terms of leveling my people up. But I just don't know if I want to put any more time into it because I'm sacrificing time that I could be spending playing other games. That being said, like it's been a long time since I've really sat down and played video games, but it's something that I want to get back into. In fact, PlayStation is having a fall sale right now, and there's several games that are on sale that I've been thinking about getting. And I'm enjoying it. Like it's a great little stress relief until you get to like chapter 19 of Merge and Blade, and you get destroyed and lose 30 minutes of everything you've done. That being said, you do collect the gold, but I don't know. I've been having fun gaming, and it's like, you know, I want to make that part of my operation. Clarkman, when I'm playing that, he's over here. He's playing on the PC. He's kind of like a little PC gamer, surprisingly. And there's all kinds of games that he likes playing. So we kind of do it together, and I enjoy that. That game is not necessarily a 2-player thing, so it is good that we can each find something to do. So Merge and Blade gets my Game of the Week recommendation. Just, you've been warned that it will be addicting, and you may get to the end and get absolutely demolished, or you might just beat it instantly and you come back next week and be like, hey Greg, I beat Merge and Blade in like 15 minutes. You're a loser. You don't know how to do puzzles. I would accept that too. So I mean, that could have fallen into the crazy decision of the week to download and play Merchant Blade just based off of a recommendation from podcast, just in passing, like one sentence and description of it. And he didn't go into the detail that I did, but it seemed appealing enough to me. As soon as he said it was like Puyo Puyo or Tetris, I was like, oh, I like that kind of stuff. So that was like my crazy decision of the week to download that, but I made a crazier decision and a much more expensive one. This happened on Saturday morning. We're doing this thing now where we're all sitting down and building Lego sets at the table on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, and I love it. That's why I'm working so hard on like Fridays to get all of my stuff done ready for the weekend, because I still have content coming out on the weekend, but I want to have it all done so I have no obligations. We can just like do our thing, right? Well, during that time, I happened to check, I think it was Slick Deals or maybe Reddit. I look at the Lego deals on Reddit, and I saw that Lego had put the Republic gunship, the Star Wars UCS Republic gunship, on sale for $279. To some of you, that might sound like a lot. Like, holy smokes, $279, that's more than any Lego set I've ever bought is, and it should be, for good reason. But this set is typically $400. And the week before last week, I passed on it at Walmart for $325. I was really tempted by it. I was like, $325 is a good deal. I've never seen that thing on sale like that. And I passed on it, had some regrets, but then when Lego comes out, $279 for it, along with double VIP, which is like getting 10% back, and a gift with purchase. So my hands were tied. I had to do it, and I did it. But then like right after that, you think that's crazy enough. Like that's enough Lego buying for 1 week. Well, right after that, I saw the Daily Bugle was $300 instead of $350 from Walmart, and I bought that as well. So in one morning, in 1 hour essentially, I spent $579 on Lego, on two sets that I just am very excited about. They're already here, by the way. I've made videos about them, not only on No Zero Days, but also on my Baritect channel. But it was exciting making this purchase, even though I've like trying not to buy any more Lego. Sometimes the price is right, and sometimes you just can't resist when you see a good deal, because if anything, like even from if you're a non-Lego person at all, if you have $279 to spend, that is one heck of an investment you can make, because Lego is one of those things where if you sit on it for a few years after it retires, you keep the box sealed in good condition, that's going to be worth significantly more than even the $400 that Lego was selling it for at the original price. So investing, it's a pretty safe return too. Like the stock market's obviously a lot more liquid. You can get your money back anytime if you need to. It feels safer in some ways, but also not so safe. But you're not going to see the returns necessarily in the short amount of time that you would see in the stock market in the Lego space, depending on the stock you invest in. If you invest in the next big thing, maybe you'll make more. But Lego is a pretty good investment historically. Going forward, I don't know if that's going to be the case, being that I'm not basing this on anything other than just like how I feel, but I feel like younger kids aren't necessarily into Lego the way that I was into Lego, or maybe you were into Lego, because they have so many other things competing for their attention, like technology wise, gaming, there's TikTok, YouTube, obviously, and all these things just occupy their time and space. And parents, when faced with the decision to buy you a very expensive Lego set, even cheap Lego sets are now like $25, or give you some money to buy a Fortnite skin, or to not buy anything at all because it's a free game, I think that's kind of the path that most people are taking. Plus, it doesn't make a mess. It's so easy. So I don't know. I don't know if the future is going to be there where I live off of nostalgia for Lego, and I loved it as a kid. I'm sharing that with my kid. Maybe that's what's happening too, though. I mean, there could be a lot of parents that are making these big purchases like I am with their disposable income that Lego seems to be targeting with these 18 plus sets. And then their kids are seeing that, and their kids are experiencing it. And then they're becoming future adults that are buying the expensive Lego sets just like I am. Or those kids are it's like a lost generation. I don't know how it's going to pan out. I mean, Lego sales obviously doing really well, but how much of that is from people like me as opposed to who it should be, like people like Clark, for the future of the business? I don't know. I guess remains to be seen, but we'll find out. I only speaking from my standpoint, Clark Man is a hardcore Lego enthusiast, but I'd be interested in hearing from like other kids in his class. Like, are they doing Lego these days? Like, our 8-year-olds, are they into Lego? Because like back in my day, oh God, I said it, I'm an old man. Back in my day, there was video games, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64, that kind of stuff. And there was Lego. and action figures. Those were life. Which, speaking of action figures, this is just falling right into place here. Once I got going a little bit, once I got my bearings, once we got past the whole Sloppy Joe thing, that was just the worst leadoff that we've ever had, because it derailed the entire episode. But now things are flowing, and I want to talk to you about action figures, specifically Star Wars Black Series figures. I mentioned last week I was coming off of a high from finding C-3PO at Ollie's for $8. And Clark Man absolutely loved that figure, by the way. He was playing with it all weekend. He was talking about how it's his favorite action figure, and he loves these Black Series. So I made a little bit of a purchase, and I went on and I got the Return of the Jedi Darth Vader Black Series figure. Unfortunately, he was not $8. He was not at Ollie's. He was at GameStop.com. My second GameStop purchase in 2 weeks. I think I might be able to save the place. It was like $25 or $27. But dude, he is cool. He has a helmet that comes off, so you actually see like Darth Vader's like face under there. You know, his like his white scarred up head and stuff. He has two different hands, one where he doesn't have a hand at all. The other one he has a normal hand. He's got a lightsaber that you can take the lightsaber off the hilt and then put that on his side. He's got soft goods on his cape. He's got two different like capes. It's just a cool figure. The only downside of it that we found is like the helmet doesn't stick on very well. Like it just doesn't, like, I thought it would snap on, and I thought, oh, that's a great play feature. You can take the helmet on and off, but it really doesn't work like that. So it's one of those things where it's kind of just better left kind of like, you either have the helmet off and you play with it, or you have the helmet on and he's on display, or you have the helmet like in his arm, like the crook of his arm, which is how they have him on the back of the box. Which, speaking of that, the box wasn't actually a box. It was like a card back with like the clear plastic in the front. And once you open that, like, it's no longer collectible, which kind of sucks. You know, I want all my Black Series figures to be in boxes. And when I say all Black Series figures, I mean that because I think we're going in. Clark made a list this morning. We were having breakfast, and I showed him the video that I came across of the guy that showed his entire collection over the last 3 years. This was a guy, and who I blame getting me into Black Series. He used to make videos about music, like he was a drummer or whatever. Then one day in 2020, he bought the Imperial Probe Droid Black Series figure, of all things. And that set him down this course where now, 3 years later, he has an entire closet filled, like all of the shelves in a closet, filled with Black Series characters. And I feel like we're kind of going down that too. I just really love them. I think, like, in terms of quality, they're right up there with the best. That being said, they are about the same price as a Transformer, like a mid-range Transformer. And I would say for a kid, the Transformer is probably a lot better of a purchase because it makes multiple things. You can really articulate it. You can do the transformery things that a Transformer can do. These Black figures, while they have good articulation, I do think that they're mostly meant for display purposes, as evidenced by Darth Vader. So I'm kind of back and forth, but I feel like even if Clark doesn't play with these that much, they'll look great on display, and we can just have like a little setup, and then he can pull them off whenever he wants. One thing I will never do is just buy them to keep them in the box. That's just not how I roll. If I get an action figure, I want to play with it. So yeah, I'm on eBay right now, kind of like looking around, seeing what our next one's going to be. I'm thinking it might be Boba Fett. Also, I think might be Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. He's got like the battle damage and stuff. He looks sick. But we're mostly going with the original trilogy figures for right now until we watch the Clone Wars and Rebels, which we did start watching an episode last week. And then maybe we'll get into those. Speaking of watching things, rolling it right in, we watched a movie on Disney Plus last weekend. Well, attempted to watch it. The movie's called Haunted House, based on the ride at Disney World, and I think it's at Disneyland too. Don't quote me on that. And when I say try to watch it, I don't mean it was a bad movie. Though I think the critics have panned it. They said it's terrible. It's got like a really low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, all of that stuff. Metacritic, terrible. We gave it a watch, and I liked what I saw of it, but I ended up falling asleep about an hour into it. It's a 2-hour movie. It wasn't because the movie's terrible. I fall asleep when I watch movies. I get all cozy in. We watched it down here on the projector, and the couch is like a recliner, and I have my favorite blankie, and I'm all snuggled in, nice and warm, and I'm cozy, and when you get cozy, sometimes you fall asleep, and that happens to me pretty much every time I go to watch a movie. So then I'm like trying to figure out where I left off at, and I need to go back and watch it. But Cody and Clark liked the movie. It's on Disney Plus. You already paid for it. Let's just like Merge and Blade. You already paid for it if you have Game Pass. You might as well give it a watch. The only thing it's going to cost you is your time, which could be the most important thing of all, right? But yeah, give it a watch if you have nothing else to do. You can watch Haunted House. It was fun. I'll let you know how the second hour is if I go back and watch it. I'm not like super called to do that. You know what I should do? I should put that on my computer while I play Merge and Blade. No. I don't. No more Merge and Blade. My addiction of the week. Speaking of things of the week, my listen of the week, I'm still listening to The Hobbit. So good on Audible. If you get the Andy Serkis version where he narrates it, he's the voice of Smeagol. It's so amazing. The way he's able to do everyone's voice, like he can do a Gandalf voice, he can do a Bilbo voice. He does everybody in it, even the dwarves. The dwarves have their own accents and everything. So well done. And I'm getting so much more from this book. I think I talked about this last week. I'm getting so much more from this audiobook than I would reading the book. And I know that doesn't sound good to the English teachers out there. My wife's one of them who's trying to encourage people to read. But my goodness, when you're listening to someone put so much effort into a narration of a book, it's like sitting at story time and just like, I'm like fully like in the zone when I'm listening to this, regardless of what I'm doing. So I give it a recommendation. If you don't have Audible, it's probably a better investment than something like Netflix. Although there's a lot of content on there. It's just, you get 1 credit a month. You get to listen to whatever book you want, usually done by a really good narrator like that. This one was challenging, though, because there was 2 different ones, so I went with this one. Let me make sure of his name. I think it's Andy Serkis is what his last name is. I don't know if it'll show me on the Audible app if that's who's narrating it, but I think that's what it is. I'm not going to take any of your time. Look up Sloppy Joe's. Look up who's the voice of Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, and then you'll know. The Precious. It's that guy. You know what I'm saying? My Precious. And speaking of that, I got to the point where Bilbo gets the ring and how upset he is. It was crazy. So, yeah. What's it? Oh, shoot, I'm drawing a blank. Dude, I'm drawing so many blanks here. What's his other name? Smeagol? What's his other name? Gollum. That one didn't fail me. I know there's a video game that just came out. It's called Gollum, and it's apparently the worst game of 2023, although there was a King Kong game that just came out that may have taken the cake of worst game of the year. I feel like I want to play it just because it's so bad. Clark and I started playing a game that was really bad this week too. We're circling back around to games of the week. It all goes back to where it starts. Shrek's Carnival Games. Clarkman saw this game sitting there for the Wii, and I was gonna put this in a yard sale, but I was like, oh, this could be really funny to live stream, like just this jank mini game, like Mario Party style game for the Wii. And Clark and I tried playing it, and it's so crap, but it's so fun. Like I'm really getting like into it. As you can see, this is why I probably shouldn't play video games. I feel like this is gonna happen with Elden Ring, which this weekend, Lord willing, I would love to do some live streaming of Elden Ring. I had a couple people when I made the video where I purchased it comment that, they're really into it and they wishing me the best. They want to know how I'm liking it. So I would love to make a video or like a live stream where I'm playing through it. Maybe I could get some help from people too. I should do that with Merge and Blade. There's probably no one that's played it, but I think that'd be kind of fun. Speaking of that kind of takes me into something in the world of Lego that I want to do and kind of ties into my win of the week. With all these new Lego sets coming in, these big ones, I thought back to how I have Ninjago City Gardens partially built on my bar back here. And it's been there for an incredibly long time, partially built, because I've been only like building it when I'm streaming it. My Lego thing, as I've mentioned, is kind of taken a backseat to everything else that I'm doing. These No Zero Days vlogs, I actually made the mistake this week of seeing how long it takes me to edit one of these. And they're all clocking in at about 20 minutes. I go through about an hour and a half of footage to make a 20-minute video. Like I record a lot and I just cut it down to just what I absolutely want. Trying to make it like a fast-paced, enjoyable experience for you. To do that requires me to watch the videos like when I'm editing, and it took me about 2 hours to make one of these videos. So if you're wondering what goes into making a 20-minute No Zeros Days vlog, it's about 2 hours of my day, which is a lot when I think about it. But I also think like this is like my thing. This is my purpose, I feel like. And I get so much joy out of documenting these things and creating a little story each day that other people enjoy. And I've been getting a lot of feedback. Like these vlogs in particular have really brought people out of the woodwork, very much like last week's podcast episode where people are actually like commenting. Because there was years I went by where I didn't have comments on my videos ever since YouTube like went through like their first not made for kids thing, but like they if you had videos of kids in them, they took your comments away. Then they brought the comments back, and then they started the made for kids nonsense, and it's just gotten it's been crazy. But I haven't really had much of a community on that channel whatsoever, mostly because I think it's younger kids watching, or at least there was. There's obviously a switchover that's happened or is continuing to happen, because I think what's happening, and what I'm hearing from, is that there's kids watching, but what I'm hearing from is from the parents who are saying, and these are the people that I'm meeting out in the wild too, and I love to see this. The parents are like, my kids look forward to your videos every day. We watch them together as a family. I like the idea that I can create some type of content that parents can not only tolerate, because a lot of the stuff that Clarkman chooses to watch, I just can't. But if I can make content that adults can not only tolerate, but also look forward to watching with their kids, it's like, dude, that's awesome. So we're like spanning the generations. We're doing what Lego can. Sega does what Nintendo don't. I'm kind of doing what Lego don't. And that is not only getting the adult audience through like my day-to-day activities, I suppose, which I'm assuming would be boring for kids, but like the kids are like there too. So who knows what's happening, but I've determined, and this has been my thing for the entire time that I've ever done my channel. I make videos and share what I'm passionate about at the time. And that could change over time, and it has. Chapters come and go, but I just do what I'm interested in, what I'm passionate about, and that's enabled me to never get burnt out. That's why I can sit down for 2 hours every single day and make a 20-minute video and not have any problems with that, because I love having these things documented. I won't talk about that too much here because there is a listener feedback question that comes up on that, so I'd like to touch on that there as I get into the rest of the listener feedback. But I do have to share my win of the week, and it's related to Baritect and the setup over there with Ninjago City Gardens being partially complete. I decided that it was yesterday. I decided that I'm done with this place being a mess. I had set a goal for myself that by Thanksgiving, when my nephews come over, as they do every single year, I want this place to be immaculate. And I asked a certain assistant on Apple yesterday, whose name we will not mention. I said, how many days is it until Thanksgiving? It turns out it's 35 days. And I was like, that's wonderful. That's a lot of time to get all the things done. So I spent a good amount of time yesterday cleaning up Baritect and all the area over there in the kitchen, and got my eBay stuff and all in order. In fact, I even listed a whole bunch of eBay things while I was doing that process. And I sold an item in like the same day, like while I was doing it. It was awesome. If you're wondering what it was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I found it at a yard sale in the wild for $15, and I sold it for $35 yesterday. I looked at the prices. I was like, I'm going to make this very competitive. Took a picture of it, put it on, made $35 while I was cleaning up my kitchen area. And now the kitchen over there is so immaculate. There's no items anywhere. It's like I don't even recognize it. It's been messy for so long, with stuff all over the bar, stuff all over the counter, stuff on the floor with all my yard sale stuff that I need to list on eBay. I've been cranking that stuff out. I've been doing really well on eBay and getting sales and getting stuff listed. And I have it like in the storage room where it's properly indexed. So when I sell something, I can go in and get it. It's right beside all the packing material. It's lovely. So that is my win of the week. Getting everything all organized, all set up. Getting the Baritect just immaculate. The only thing on there is Ninjago City Gardens with my next bag set out that I'm ready to build, and I'm going to stream myself building that until it's done. And then we're ready for the next big thing. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, and I'm feeling really good about myself with getting that all organized and having this goal and actually making progress and seeing it happen. It feels great. So that's my win of the week. If you have one, throw it out there, along with anything else that you'd like to talk about, just like these folks did. As I get into the reading portion of today's events, we've got a lot of listener feedback, and I'm thankful for that, because as you can tell, like my weeks, as I kind of alluded to in the beginning of this episode, my weeks are starting to feel kind of like samey. Every week I kind of go through the same routine, and you might see that in the vlogs too. Like this week in particular, I feel like my vlogs are rather weak. But next week the weather's getting warm again, so I'm like, dude, let's make the most of that. But right now, like I'm just kind of like on the grind, which is good because I'm accomplishing my goals, and that's ultimately what No 0 Days is about. It's working towards our goals, making progress every day, and not taking a 0 day. No 0 days. But I'm concerned about how it is to watch. I haven't edited like this week's videos because it's always like a week behind, but I think we'll turn it into something. I'm hopeful. Speaking of hopeful, let's read listener feedback from last week, starting with Ray. Ray is like the ultimate commenter, the biggest supporter. And I can always rely on Ray to give me like that little bit of sunshine and encouragement that I need in my life to like push me forward to the next 2-hour editing session to make another video. Ray says, good Sunday morning. Knobles is definitely a blessing for you and your family. He also hits every part that we talk about. He says you get a 3-season county fair feel that someone in the family and everyone in the family enjoys, yes, and a reason to eat fries and pickles. Absolutely. The 72-cent lunch reminds me of the old Stuckey's dinner billboards on the interstate. I've never seen that, but he says it's 2 eggs, toast, and jelly, 99 cents. Even as a kid, I could never imagine a trucker being satisfied with that. Anyway, glad you and Clark added a restaurant to the mix. Try the Arby's French dip also. They have the best shakes at the best price, hands down. Okay, you got me sold. We're going back. He says pre-build is definitely the way to go for most things. It's a hobby to have fun. Why add stress and glue to what you and Clark, by all accounts from the video, have a fantastic time doing? Yeah, I've decided with the SEs, no more assembling it. We're getting pre-assembled. I think my next one is going to be a $65 Saturn V 1/200 scale replica ship. It's a shuttle. No, it's just a rocket. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to see if it takes Ds. But I'm a little scared, though, because I don't want to lose that. It's one thing when you lose your $3 rocket that you spent to get the whole starter kit. It's another thing when your $65 rocket goes floating into a tree. So I'm a little worried about that one. Maybe we should go like $20. Can I throw $20 into a tree? I have much more than that, actually. Oh. Anyways, he says, just like DIY projects, know your limitations. Caulking a tub will turn anyone negative. He says, you're so correct about people gravitating towards drama or the negative. You have to choose and work hard to take the positive mindset. We can all find fault, but building people up benefits and changes lives. Your channels definitely push the fun and positive potential of life. That's why I believe you have such a great and loyal following. Thanks, Ray. Says finally, sorry to monologue. Thank you for having this forum. It is like a coffee conversation. It lets some express themselves in the comments and also edifies others with their walk in this life that we all share. Have a great week with Cody, the pets, and Clark. Ray, thank you for the lovely comment, as always. He wasn't the only one, though. You might think Ray left the only comment. No, you guys came through. Tracy, a longtime repeat offender, as I like to call her, she says, I didn't used to notice the sound quality in videos. Watching your videos and listening to your thoughts on how much you care about the quality, I pick up on it now. So I guess last week proves how much you've taught me about a dip in quality, and that made me smile. Yeah, dude, like I feel like audio is more important than video. I'd rather watch a pixelated mess of a video with really nice audio. I did test my microphone before I started, by the way. I have new fear unlocked. But rather than see something that looks just glorious, but like there's wind noise and like static and all that, I just can't stand it. In fact, I have an old Canon camera that I'm going to be selling here on eBay that I love the form factor of the camera, but without like a crazy good microphone on it, it's like a sound in the audio, and most people wouldn't even notice it because I watched reviews of the camera and everyone's like, oh, it looks and sounds great, and I'm like, do you not hear that? I'm just like I'm a stickler for noises. Any little noises and things like that. Back when I used to have an older car, any little sound it would make would like drive me nuts, and I just think I'm one of those types, I guess, that gets really annoyed by like certain sounds. Like sounds really bother me. So when there's really good audio, it like warms my heart. So I'm glad to bring you into the fold there, Tracy. Sorry now that you won't be able to watch half of YouTube videos because they don't sound good. But I think most people have their act together, and cameras are getting really good. Like you can use pretty much anything and the audio is not bad. Thank you for commenting. Next one comes from Samuel. He says, hello, Greg. I have fond, not memories of freshman year of my English teacher, who happened to be my aunt at the time, made us read The Hobbit outside of class. The audible version of that book saved my life. Like you said, the narration is fantastic. I still haven't found the time to list my stuff, but now I have a general idea of what I want to get rid of. Congratulations. Just wait until you start getting those sales and you start getting some money, and then you're like, ooh, what can I spend this on? Oh, I'm going to go get whatever it is that you're doing now. I'm going to download the Lord of the Rings audiobook, which will probably be my next audiobook that I get. I have another credit that I'm just like, I think I'm going to be moving through. Yeah, like you can convert something that you're no longer using into something that you can use. My only advice to you is when you list something, always check the sold listings, see what it's selling for so you don't undersell or oversell yourself. and then look at the ones that are for sale right now. I always try to price myself just slightly under where people are at because I want to make a sale. Like when I'm selling something, it's not about maximizing profits. For me, it's mostly about getting rid of something that I'm not using anymore. It's taking up space in my life. So if I find something that's not moving, I'll go look and see what's happened. And it's like, okay, somebody's listed lower than me. So I'll try to like push them out a little bit. It's the capitalist system at work, I suppose. Supply and demand. So if demand is low, your supply needs to drop in value. That's not exactly how it works, but you get the idea. He says, also back in June, I made a fatal mistake that also led to me breaking my phone. I was in Illinois visiting my grandparents. The first night we were there, my grandfather and I went to the grocery store. As I was getting back into his car, my phone fell out of my pocket, and as it was falling, I slammed the door on it. Oh my gosh, imagine the timing of that. That led to what felt like the most miserable 4 days of my life. I couldn't wait to get home to receive my replacement sent in the mail. We'll put it that way. Oh no, stuck at the grandparents with no technology. How did you survive? Imagine though, like I thought you were just going to drop it on the ground and then I was going to give you some advice like, man, you got to make sure you have a case on your phone and a screen protector. Slamming it into the door as it's dropping though. You probably couldn't do that again if you tried. Like that's some dude perfect type stuff, like the perfect trick shot. Sorry to hear that, man. I'm glad you made it through, though. Stay strong. Next one comes from DB Bricks. He says, I guess there's something in the air about losing data at the minute. It's happened to me twice, literally this week. First time was enjoying a bit of downtime playing Minecraft when the power tripped. Only for half a second before it came back on, but enough to make the lights flicker and shut the PlayStation down. Everything turned back on fine, but it corrupted the data. And so a world we've been working on for 18 months was completely gone. Not backed up, but thankfully in my perspective, really not important, just a minor irritant. This same thing happened to us. It wasn't while we were playing, but it was a world where Kyle, Landon, my nephews, Clark, and I were working on this world, not for 18 months, but we had built this place up pretty nice. And then I had my PlayStation 5 on like reserve power mode, when it kind of goes into like sleep mode where it can still do its things. And something must have happened because when I came back to play again, I had like no save files. Everything was gone and I was devastated. So I've learned ever since then, I never leave my stuff on sleep mode, but it does suck though, because when you go a long time without playing video games, then you want to go play something today, for example. It's like, oh, I've got to do a system update. Then I have to update this game 65 times. So that does blow, but it's better than losing all of your stuff. So I feel your pain. He says, less than 24 hours later, my gaming PC has a meltdown. No idea what the issue is, but I do wonder, with it being so soon after the PS4 issue, if there was a power surge that's fried something. Can't afford to get it looked at right now, so I'm still a bit in limbo on that one, but thankfully everything on there is backed up, either through Steam or my work PC. Just a bit nervous now of something happening to my work PC. Running an online business without it would be absolutely impossible. Yeah, I know they have surge protectors. That might be a good thing to install. But yeah, it does seem kind of sketchy or weird that would happen. I wonder if it was like lightning struck the lines or something in the storm. But man, like, hey, at least it, I can't even say at least it was just your Minecraft world, because I think if I had spent a year and a half building something, I would be devastated. But at least it wasn't like family photos, your kid being born, something like what I was talking about with Cody's coworker last week. That like, it's still like haunts my soul knowing that I have to get an update. I'll have to give you guys an update. I'll ask Cody if she heard back, if they were able to recover that data. They had a company apparently that they're going to go through where you can give them the pieces of your phone and maybe they can get it back together somehow. Hopefully they can. Thank you for the comment. Next one comes from Jim, longtime repeat offender as well, big supporter, and I appreciate him always tuning in. He says, we were in the, I'm not going to say this right, Seychelles Islands on our honeymoon. It's Seychelle, for those of you that actually know how to say it. We met this fun German couple there to get married. We took a boat cruise from the resort to go see a sea turtle sanctuary. See a sea turtle sanctuary. Try saying that once, Jim. Are you trying to trick me up here? He says, I wrapped my phone in 2 Ziploc bags and shoved it in my pocket to ensure nothing happened to it on the boat. They parked the boat and said we could swim into the beach to see the turtles. The German gentleman gets up, runs across the boat, and dives 2 stories into the Indian Ocean. So yeah, I had to follow him. We swam to the beach to see the turtles. At that point, I realized I'd forgotten my phone in my pocket. The adrenaline, peer pressure to run across the boat and jump 20 feet into the ocean overcame my brain, and that was that. The little bit of seawater got into the 2 Ziploc bags was all it took. Total meltdown. The phone got so hot and instantly bloated. I could not rinse or dry it enough. It was toast. Pictures from our first week in Africa had luckily been downloaded. I was offloading pics every night. That's a genius move. Luckily, that was the only day that we lost, and no phone/pics on the phone for the last 4 days. Really sucked to be international with zero connection or hope to call out, especially when traveling in remote islands in an African landscape. But no real loss of pictures or anything, as I had the forethought to sync those every day. Lesson learned, no more jumping off boats in the Indian Ocean without emptying my pockets first. You'll have to remember that next time. On Tuesday, when you need to jump in the ocean, you'll be like, wait a minute, my phone's in there. I did that once, I think, with my wallet. I think I was wearing my swimsuit and I had my wallet in my pocket. I jumped in and like nothing bad happened. The money got wet. I think my social security card was in there. I was like maybe in like 18, 19 at the time. And I know you're not supposed to have that with you, but I don't know why I did. I think it was just because that's where I kept all my important things. And that got like kind of bad on the corners or whatever, but it was no big deal. But man, the phone things, it was actually, your story here is one of many that we got last week about losing various data things. And I think it's just one of those things that we can all kind of feel the pain for and maybe relate to, because I think it's happened to a lot of us. But the lesson that we all need to learn here is that it's very important to back things up. You should have cloud storage if you can. Apple has it, I think, for 99 cents a month. You can get your photos on there. Or if you have a computer, you can back them up on there. Put them on a hard drive. Put them in a fireproof box. That's what I do. 2 hard drives in a fireproof box. Again, I would like to get one of those off-site, though. That way, if there's a fire, I don't lose it. I would love to have all my stuff in the cloud to prevent that, but I have terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of video files, and it just would be incredibly expensive to back those up. Although there might be some option, but for now, it's just on hard drives, 2 of them, and thankfully, on vacation, I haven't lost anything yet. I always worry about my GoPros. I was never more worried than when we were doing the parasailing and I had my phone or my camera in my hand and I'm like, please don't drop it. Please don't drop it. Because there was all this stuff on there. But I haven't done anything like that yet. But backing it up every night does seem like a good plan. Oftentimes, I don't take anything with me, though. Like, I don't take any computers or anything, so I wouldn't have anything to back it up to. But I think you can actually plug a hard drive into your phone and transfer it that way. I just don't know how long it takes to do that. Probably something to look into so I don't have that stress. If I had all my stuff backed up every night, it's like, all right, I lose my phone, that sucks, but that's replaceable. Memories that are recorded are not. Johnny comments. He says, hey Greg, nice video. Also enjoy going to a physical location to shop, but I feel like stores are getting less and less things in their physical locations. It's also more convenient to have things delivered right to your door and not have to unload it. I've only been to Knoebels in the summer. Maybe sometime I go for Halloween or Christmas. As for the phone, these are all things that he's kind of just going from thing to thing. As for the phone, I had a Samsung Galaxy S3 before I made the switch to iPhone, and it had everything on it, pictures from Disney and my school. Luckily, I had them transferred to my computer, but I couldn't imagine losing all those memories. Something I like to hear in the podcast this week is your ideas for Greg's farm. Kind of what animals are you planning on getting? What crops would you like to plant? I can't wait for next week's episode. Well, it's a farm, not really a growing farm. I have gardens. I don't plan to plant crops necessarily. I'm mainly growing animals. And the animals that I would love to have on Greg's farm, if someday this dream becomes a reality, which I think it will, it's just a matter of finding the right place. Obviously, I'd love to have chickens. Let's start with domesticated animals. I'd love to have a couple dogs. And Cody was like, it's a lot to have a bunch of dogs in the house, but if you had a setup for them outside, like a kennel, not like a crappy one, but like a nice one, where I could have them inside and they're out of the weather and then let them out during the day to do their thing. I could have a bunch of dogs. That I'm okay with just one dog, though. I'd like to have a couple cats, couple barn cats, keep the mice down. I'd like to have some more chickens. The more the merrier, I say. I'd like to have some ducks. I'd probably get a turkey just for fun. I like any kind of birds. I want a little pig. I want a couple little goats, just the tiny versions. I want the smallest version of everything you can get. I was actually thinking about getting a donkey. I was looking at this video of this newborn donkey. Well, he's 10 days old, and I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. And people are hyping up how fun donkeys are. So that's I just added that to my list. What else would I like to have? Those are my main animals. There's probably other things on my list. I would love to have a pond. I know we're getting into the dream spectrum here, but I'd love to have a pond and stock that with a variety of fish as well. And I'd like to put some turtles and some frogs and all kinds of stuff out there. I, I'd like to get some rabbits. I talked to Clark about getting some rabbits. I thought that'd be kind of fun. You name it, I'd like to have it. I don't want to have a horse. I feel like that's a little bit outside of the realm of me being able to care for it. But if I had all these other little animals, like including like a little pig, some goats, ducks, chickens, cats, I feel like that's all manageable. You just got to make sure everybody's fed, everybody's watered, they all got some shelter, and hopefully have like some type of vet on hand that can come out and take care of things when stuff inevitably comes up. But that's like what my dream is. That's what I want for my future. And everything that I do now, everything that I'm working towards, whether it be on YouTube and building an audience that really is genuinely interested in seeing like the day-to-day adventures of almost a non-pet animal or non-pet situation now outside of the chickens and dog and cat. But maybe like we'll have an easy transition into that someday. And, financially, anything that I can save towards that dream, I'm doing that. Because it's just a matter of finding like the right property, because we'll sell this place and then transition that. Even if the house isn't great, we can work on that or remodel it while we still live here. But it's just about finding the piece of land. And I would love it if my mother and father-in-law could come out there and build a place on it as well, or put a place on there where they can be there to not only like help them, but if we ever want to travel, because that's my biggest issue with these animals, is that I still want to go enjoy the world out there. And when you have all these obligations, that becomes a problem. Oh, I also want to get a parrot. That's an indoor pet, but I want to get a parrot. Yeah, I want to be able to have my cake and eat it too. And I feel like if I can do all of these things and pull this off and find a nice piece of land, that's all it's going to take for me to do that. But I've got lots of life ahead of me, hopefully, if all things go well. And I feel like that'll be, we talk about chapters. I feel like that's a good future chapter for me as Clark Man gets older, even though I'd like to have this for him now as he's younger. As Clark Man gets older, I would just love to be an old man with all my animals. It just brings me so much joy and happiness. And that's just truly what I want for myself. Like it's my ultimate destiny, I feel like. Thank you for the question, though. I appreciate that. Next one comes from, let's see, I'm missing a few here. Did I scroll here when I wasn't supposed to scroll? Let me see. There we go. Okay, I'm back. We don't edit this. That was from Johnny. Next one's from Joey. We got a lot of J's here. We got Johnny, Joey, and Jay. This is Joey. He says, it's unfortunate how toxic the online Star Wars community is. He's referring to this channel that I found where I was kind of interested in it, but every Star Wars video they made, which is entirely what their channel was, every one of them was a negative like topic and negative thumbnail, I guess to get people fired up. He says, honestly, it's actually just a few bad actors who realize the grift is more profitable when they hate. Don't believe most people are like that. The one Star Wars channel that I love and watch religiously is Star Wars Explained. Alex and Molly are shining examples of positivity and empathy in a space dominated by rage. Yeah, I think that's an easy thing for Star Wars people too, because they definitely have high expectations for their content, whether it be movies, shows, whatever it is. And it seems like they're let down more often than not. And that develops like this space where they're just angry, perpetually angry that they're not getting what they want. But it's like that all over the place. I mean, the news is like that, obviously. Like online, people go there to either be outraged and to tell why they are outraged too, or disagree. Like it gets everybody fired up. Or you want your opinion like verified by somebody. Like, yeah, I thought that haunted house movie sucked too, and I'm gonna add in onto the hate train. It's just what people do. But I think what Jim said earlier. I'm gonna go back to this and lose my spot. Or Ray, I'm sorry, it wasn't Jim, it was Ray. He says you're correct about people gravitating towards drama or negative. You have to choose and work to take the positive mindset. We can all find fault, but building people up benefits and changes lives. But it doesn't make money on YouTube, does it? That's the problem with the Star Wars guys. But I guess it's not all of them. I'm going to keep searching. I did find one that was kind of a negative title, but actually positive. It was like, what if The Force Awakened didn't suck? And I was like, okay, you got me. So I watched it, and they had like a whole alternate storyline of what it could have been. And I was like, oh, that's so much better. They should have taken this guy's ideas. Next one comes from Jay's Hobby Reviews. He says, hopefully my comment makes the cut. You're in. Personally, I would comment more, but I usually listen to this while driving. And I think that's the case with most people. Most people, this is like a side quest to the actual quest they're on. And it's actually very inconvenient to comment. Just know I do appreciate it when you get a chance. And you don't have to like you pick up your phone and start texting or whatever right now while you're driving in 6 lanes of traffic. Don't worry about that. But if something strikes you that you'd like to participate in or be a part of in the next episode, throw it out there, because it really does add a lot to the episode. Not only, I think, of interest to me because I get to hear from you guys, but it makes the episodes longer too. So if you need more time, it's a great way to boost it up if you like longer episodes. Luckily, this one I don't need to edit. As you can tell, like this one just goes out. This is like my easy thing of the week, and it makes me for a nice Friday afternoon, which I'm recording this on October 20th at 2:02 p.m. If you're curious, today has slipped away from me. Holy smokes. He says, also collecting Black Series and Lego seems like a nice balance, but I can be biased since my channel mostly consists of those product reviews. Me and you, same. We can be friends. He says, I know a few podcasts you mentioned about driving trucks. Oddly enough, earlier this week, I passed my CDL course. I'm not really sure what path is ahead, but definitely looking forward to it. Keep up the great content. Hope Lemon is doing better. Well, thank you, sir. Hey, you can listen while you're driving your truck. That'd be cool. It's my other life goal. The farm one's going to happen, but if there was another multiverse or whatever, and I didn't do the whole YouTube thing or go down the finance route, I think I would have really loved being a truck driver. I would have really enjoyed that. Who knows though, different times, different life. I have a lot of dreams, but some of them are just like really far out there and some are like doable. I feel like the farm one is doable. That's my big dream. I don't think it hurts to have dreams either. Like, even if you think something, like I would have never thought that I would be a YouTuber. Like I used to watch people doing that. I'm like, what do I have to offer? Why would it be me? But it doesn't hurt to try. And you never know what the world can deliver you, You just never know. Next one comes from Legolicious. Love the name. It says, from a collector's point of view, I definitely have the same mindset as you. I have only been collecting Marvel Legends for a better part of 2 years, and I have quite a whole shelf full. I would not change it for the better, though, as I'm in awe of how detailed they are. Yeah, Marvel Legends, if you guys don't know, Marvel Legends is like the alternative to the Black Series figures. So if you're a Marvel person, they're lovely. They have those at Ollie's too. Not any good ones, but they have them, and they're pretty cool. I'm going to stick with Star Wars though. Don't tempt me into the Marvel space. Next one comes from Ashley. It says, MapQuest, commenting on technology from yesteryear. It says, oh man, did you also print out the reverse directions as well? I took many trips using this method. Every year I say we're going to make a trip to Knoebels, and so far we haven't. I need to make that a priority for the next year. You're spot on with people enjoying things in different ways. I prefer to read a book, and I almost never watch the movie because the setting and characters are never what I imagine on my own. But I know a lot of people only watch the movie and have no interest in the book. Have a great week. I've been there with that. It is kind of a bummer when you get something in your mind, like how a character looks or what they sound like. And it's like that with radio too. You picture in your mind what this person is like, and then you see them and you're like, wait, that's not who they are. Not in my mind. I think you're better off watching the movie, because like when I'm listening to The Hobbit now, I know what all the characters look like because I've seen the movies, right? But it also kind of takes away because it's like they gave that to you. With a book, the whole world is your own, along with what the author's giving you. But I think it's pretty cool. UPS is delivering something. Oh my gosh. Good balance to what I was just saying, like me going off on how much better the audio version is than the book. Not to say the book version's bad. Obviously, that's where The Hobbit is coming from. But I'm getting so much out of listening to it because I can take Roxy for a walk and be listening, as opposed to like dedicating a time to sit down and read. But some people like that. That's like their Mergen Blade. They sit down and it's like, oh, today was a day. I'm going to take the next 30 minutes and I'm just going to sit down and read this book and be in my own little world. And that's lovely. Congrats. Next one comes from Bricksar. He says, are you selling on 2 different eBay accounts? I can't find the non-Lego stuff. Yes. I have a personal account that I've had for like 20 plus years. That's where I sell my yard sale stuff at. The Lego stuff all goes on my Baritect one. That's the one that I make more public because I know I have a dedicated audience of people that love Lego that are interested in buying that stuff. And I didn't want some jokester, to buy something and then like leave negative feedback just to like tank my store or whatever, which hasn't seemed to happen yet. And it does seem like kind of silly that you'd be going out of your way to buy something, and then I would not only have your name and your address and all that stuff, but like to do that would be, I think, a little above and beyond. But yeah, I do have separate ones, and I don't really make the other one public, but you could probably find it if you were crafty enough. Next one comes from Vanishing. Gone. The comment's gone. No, it's still here. It says, hey, Greg, long-time listener, first-time commenter. Love it. Coming out of the woodwork. I've just started asking you shall receive, right? I've just started college going for mechanical engineer, and I just want to say how much no zero days in these podcasts have gotten me through my days. I have a question for next week. What is your favorite Star Wars set right now, and what is the best one to pick up before it retires? Keep doing what you're doing. Well, I wish you would ask this to me last Saturday, because I would have said pick up the Republic gunship for $279. My favorite Star Wars set right now, I can tell you my last one that I built was Luke Skywalker's helmet, which I'm going to silence this. Sorry for the interruptions. Luke Skywalker's helmet is my most recent one I built. I enjoy those little helmet sets. I do wish they were more tiled and curved than the studs that are on there. But my favorite Star Wars set of all time is also the most difficult set that I've ever built in my life, and that is the Darth Maul bust. I love how menacing it looks. I love creepy Lego, and the Darth Maul bust is just such a glorious thing, which I should say thanks to Jabbo for showing that off in his videos and got me inspired to build that. He also helped me fix it too, because I had something wrong on it, and I watched their video. Him and his son had it out, and I was like, oh, I need to fix mine. But I just love that set so much. In terms of investment, you can't go wrong with Star Wars sets because they're all going to go up in value. So just buy what you can and sit on them for a couple of years, and you're going to make some money. But thank you for finally commenting. Finally, all this time. Long-time listener, first-time commenter. I love it when people say that too. Next one comes from Dallas Scott. It says, what's up, Greg? It's me again. I was super excited when you read my comment on the podcast. I've been watching you for some years now, and it's cool to see where you guys are at today. A question for next podcast. What's your favorite sport and team? Well, I used to be into sports fairly heavily. I was a football fan. I would watch NFL football, college football, and I like the NBA. That was pretty much all I watched. I tried getting into baseball multiple times. It's just too much of a boring sport for me to tolerate. But I would say with the NFL, I didn't really have a favorite team. I would just watch a bunch of different games and not really follow anything in particular. But I liked college football, and I liked Penn State when I used to watch. And it was actually a really good, memorable time for me because it was like when I was in my 20s and we were living in our apartment. We didn't pay for cable, but Nan, when she was alive, she lived in the same town, and she of course did. So I would ride my bike over there, and we would watch the Penn State games together. And it was just such an awesome memory for me looking back on it now, because for her, it was nice because somebody was coming over to visit. And it was great for me because, one, I got to watch the game, but I got to hang out with her. And also, she would always feed me really well. She would always have food and stuff. It's like if you picture going to a grandma's house, that's exactly what it was like. And those days I'll never forget. These days with sports, though, I don't really put much time or effort or stock on it because I came to this realization at some point that none of it really matters. Whether your team wins or loses, whether they win the Super Bowl, the NBA championship, which in the NBA, I love LeBron James. I would follow him throughout his team. So I used to watch the Cavs games and root for them, and they get beat by Boston. Then I would watch the Miami Heat games, and they actually did well there. Before that, I loved Shaquille O'Neal, but he retired. But ultimately, like these sports things, and I don't want to bust anyone's bubble or anything like that, because if you love sports and you're getting value from it, that's a wonderful thing, because we all need something in our lives that gives us something that we can be passionate about and enjoy and have fun with. But ultimately, what I determined with sports was I was investing an incredible amount of time into watching these games, most of which is just commercials. And then my team would win or lose. They'd win a championship or they wouldn't win a championship. But in the next day, how was my life any different? And it wasn't. Not at all. I mean, the only way that your life would change is if you had money that you would bet on the game, or if you or your friend or family or somebody was like working and or participating on the team. If you're just a casual viewer of sports, it's meaningless. But then again, what isn't meaningless, right? Is me playing Merge and Blade meaningless? Absolutely. Is me playing even a more sophisticated game like Elden Ring meaningless? Yes. Is me making this podcast meaningless? You could say that. I mean, what really is meaning other than are you getting joy out of the thing that you're doing? I think that's one of the most productive things you can produce is joy. And if you're getting joy from watching your team dominate somebody else on the field or on the court or the ice, that's awesome, right? That's awesome. And it shouldn't matter what happens as long as you're having a good time. So don't let my negativity towards sports deter you from watching sports. And I hesitate to even say that because I'm worried now someone is going to think that next time they're watching their beloved Chiefs play, Ronnie, who's coming up here soon. am I just wasting my time? Is my life isn't going to be different? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But here's the one thing you shouldn't do. When something bad happens to your team or they lose, don't let it physically negatively affect you. Because remember, it's meaningless, right? All right, moving on to the next one. Keep doing what you love to do, guys. Next one comes from Brickok. Bricko C, maybe? Hey, Greg, been watching you about 3 years now, whether it be Greg's World, Baritect, or this podcast, which I started listening to about 2 months ago, and I've been sorting through bins upon bins of Lego, been there. I've never really thought to leave a comment or some listener feedback, but since you mentioned the work that goes into making the podcast, for just no one to leave any feedback, I was talking about my other podcasts I listen to. You guys leave feedback, but this guy put in an incredible amount of work, which I don't do, obviously, and there's no editing. My phone's dinging. I can't think of words. It is nice to hear from the people, like whether it be positive or negative or just something. It's nice to hear from people. I can assure you that. And I felt bad for him when he mentioned like he'd put all this work and spent a whole day making a podcast and no one said anything one way or another with all that extra effort he put in. He says, I figured I better leave a comment as it's the least I can do for the content that you bless your community of subscribers with. Wow. Something I often think of when watching your videos, especially many vacations you and Cody and Clark went on this summer, is do you often feel that when you record everything, you're not living in the moment? I've tried to vlog myself with my younger brother, but I feel like that I'm not as engaged in the things we do while recording because of the camera being there. Just wondering your thoughts on this. Thanks, Brick OC is what it is. That's a fantastic question. Me personally, because I've been doing this so long and I'm so good at it, I can be in the moment and film. I could see somebody that doesn't do this very often, like you're like really focused on the shot and like living through that camera, but that's not me. It's kind of just along for the ride. And for me, like what I love the most is that I am there experiencing these things, but then when I bring that footage back, I get to relive it again because I have the things recorded, and then I can share it with the world, and those people can live through our experience as well. It's just such an amazing thing. I have never regretted recording something or sharing something. I've most certainly regretted not recording things. So the answer is no. I very much feel like I'm living in the moment. I have all these amazing things that I got to do, and I have all of the memories documented of those things, and it's crazy. Maybe someday though it'll be a little different. You'll get to wear your Meta glasses, your Google glasses, and then you'll just say, "Hey, so and so, record," and then it'll just record your perspective on everything you do, and you could be in the moment 100% and then still have an hour's worth of footage of things that you saw in person. You know, maybe it'll be that way someday, but man, I just love experiencing things and like capturing them and crafting that into stories. Like it makes my experience better, in my opinion. I love it. And I oftentimes feel like if I don't do that, that moment is just gone. It's escaped, because there's like, and I think I've talked about this. There's times where I'll go back and watch a random video of like me and Clark being home together, and I'm like, I do not remember this day at all. Like when did this happen? And it's like, there it was, us in the moment, in that day, living this life. And it's like, wow, this is incredible. So as far as living in the moment or not living in the moment, I want to relive those moments. And for those reasons, that's why I like recording things. My advice to you though is like, if you feel like it's too much for you, just strap the GoPro onto your chest or something, or just don't record it. I don't know. Take some pictures. I don't know what advice I have for other people other than to tell you from my mistakes, but I don't feel like that has been one. Next question comes from Atmos, maybe. It says, hey, Greg, what are your favorite MCU and Star Wars movies? Favorite Marvel movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the humor. I love the characters. Drax is my favorite. Favorite Star Wars movie, Empire Strikes Back. I don't know what it is about that one. I just love it. I know it, like, probably more people would say, I don't know what I don't know what people would say. Return of the Jedi, maybe, because it comes to a conclusion. I think more people would probably like that one. Or maybe you like the newer ones. I don't know. But Empire Strikes Back is the one for me that I really love. Next one, and last one. I saved the best for last, obviously. This is the feel-good comment of the week that brought a smile to my heart. Comes from Caleb Huddleston. He says, hi, Greg. Long-time listener, first-time commenter here. Look, we got 2 people. 2 of you guys just came out of the woodwork. I love it. I've listened to all the Missing Pieces podcasts over the years. It's crazy to think that it's been years. It has been. But never commented before. I'm not sure why your appeal worked this time. It wasn't me begging. It was me pleading, but I guess it did. I just wanted to say thank you for all you do to foster this kind of community and spread humility and positivity. He said, "You'll never make it as a Star Wars channel." He didn't say that. "You're a wonderful role model, especially for young men like myself, and your quality of character is something I look up to very much. I think I'm a better person because of the positivity you provided through your content for so many years. I always refer to your podcast in Greg's World as some of my favorite content on YouTube. A single paragraph doesn't feel adequate to thank you for the 3+ years I followed your channels after years of never having left any comments. But thank you. You make a difference." Well, thank you for the very kind words. I appreciate you tuning in and being what I like to call a survivor. And I'm just happy to be a part of your life in some way. And if I can bring something to that, that really makes me happy. But you don't have to feel bad. And I'm done. I don't want to guilt people into commenting, because I'm just as guilty as anyone is. There was a guy that I used to follow that I actually considered like a mentor of mine, a guy that was living the life that I wanted to live someday. And he was in the world of podcasting, and he started this online business, quit his job in insurance that he was miserable with, and went on to do things that he became his own boss and was in control of his destiny, and actually went on to become a life coach and helping people from the world of podcasting, helping people podcast. He went on to become like a life coach and did some amazing things. And of all those years that I listened to him and was like truly passionate about his life, like he made a podcast that was called Pursuing a Balanced Life, which was essentially what this is. It was a podcast where he was just talking about his life and the things that he was doing. And it was funny because he says balanced life because he's just like me, or I'm just like him, where we take things to the extreme and we go all in on stuff. I never once, and I should honestly reach out to him. I've never once said anything to him like, "You inspired me to become who and where I'm at today." I've never said anything. And for all I know, there's lots of people out there that maybe feel that way about me or about him or about anyone that you watch online. But I'll say this, and it could be to anybody. If there's somebody in your life, whether it be an online personality or somebody in real life that means something to you or is special to you, is someone that you cherish or someone that has helped you in some way or continues to help you in life, take some time this week and reach out to them in some way. It can even be a family member, and just say, "Hey, I thank you so much for all you do. I appreciate that." If there's somebody in your family that's maybe younger than you that looks up to you, tell them that you're proud of them. That's a very important thing too. I feel like that's probably the most powerful thing you can say to a younger person. But it's so often we think things and we don't say them. Maybe your wife is going out to work today and she's wearing a stunning outfit, and you notice it. Make sure you say something, because these little things, just saying one little thing, can have such a huge impact on somebody. So make an effort of doing that this week. I'm going to do the same. We'll all report back our results. But that's it. That's all I have for this week's episode. This went way longer than I anticipated, but it's because of you guys. And this whole thing exists. I exist in this space because of the people that watch our videos and enable me to do this. Otherwise, I'd be probably depressed right now, working in my old job, counting down the minutes until it hits 5 o'clock today so I could have a couple days where I don't have to go there. But instead, I get to truly live my dream, share that with people out there, and try to encourage other people to do the same. And then hopefully someday, we all hit our goals and we all live happily ever after, which is all I hope for you guys. So on that, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode 182. I'll be back next week with 183, and I'd love to hear from you there. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.